the reality is you guys are 100% right and 100% wrong simultaneously if you say it comes down to race. You're 100% right. It does, and 100% wrong simultaneously because there's so many other factors. Is NF successful because of his facial tone? Absolutely. Is that the only reason? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? It's never a simple answer. And the idea too that if all you need to do is put a white face on black music and you have instant success. There is way more unsuccessful white rappers than there are successful ones.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's about that time, you already know. Turn the speakers up, man, it's time to start the show. Sean Tanner, Ryan Righteous, DJ Jeremiah. We bringing the heat, man, this joint be fire like, bruh. We in the field, we in the field, bruh. We in the field, we in the field. Just put it in work, we raising the bar. You tuned in to the Trackstarz.
Yeah, back in the field with the Trackstarz, Ryan Righteous, Sean Tanner, DJ Jeremiah. What's good?
All right, for all things Trackstarz, make sure you go to trackstarswithaz.com. Follow us on Instagram at Trackstarz, Twitter at Trackstarz, like the Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel, download the app, and leave us a review, all right?
All right, so we got a lot of boxes on here. So let me explain what's going on here. Lauren, y'all know Lauren, dope rapper. He commented last week. He said, if the Trackstarz were white, their platform would be bigger. Yes, I said that. A1 content so consistently. All right, so that got a lot of people talking, of course, and a lot of people weighed in, agreeing, disagreeing, having some issues with it. And what happened was, Brinson commented and Chad put up an emoji and da-da-da. But then Mitch and KJ went back and forth the most out of everybody. So we was like, let's just have them on and let them go back and forth in front of y'all, because I haven't even said what I think about it yet. None of us have. I want y'all to talk about. I tried to get Lauren on here as well, but I couldn't get him. But what did y'all feel when he said that?
You want to go first?
No, man, go for it.
Ironic, we got a song together called "Go For It." I honestly, instantly when I saw that, especially the way I work, I was kind of like, "Yes, retweet. That's a big fact." And I want to say, like, it's not 100%. It's not the only thing. Like, I'm not saying if y'all literally all just became white overnight, that it'd be like skyrocket over Rapzilla. But I do think. One of the big conversations, especially that KJ was saying, is you and Rapzilla aren't the same thing. But to that point, I feel like y'all do more. Like y'all have your faces in front of the camera more. You're a little more consistent putting out content. So it almost feels like that alone should put y'all above. And I know there's the aspects of how long y'all been doing it. Rapzilla's existed longer. The fact that y'all are a podcast, y'all don't really do music submissions as much as Rapzilla. I feel like our space is dominated by young white kids. And I'm not going to say they're racist, but I feel like what would make more sense, them leaning towards a blog that is mainly run by white people, or the faces they see are white passing, or a room full of black men speaking, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to say it's, if y'all were white, y'all would be above Rapzilla. And it's not even about being above Rapzilla. It's more like, I feel like y'all's race plays a part in why y'all aren't bigger than you are.
Okay. Mitch, don't you got an album coming out soon?
We're not gonna talk about that. We're not gonna talk about that.
Don't you want to be all right?
I don't even make music. What are you talking about?
I saw a lot of people back out of this conversation when Chad jumped in. No, not me.
I love you. I love that way.
Well, the thing is, like, I spoke to Justin, because he's followed me for a little while, and he actually messaged me personally and was like, we were having a conversation about it, and he doesn't know when y'all started, but he was saying there's the time aspect. But he was also one of the ones to say, hey, the space is mainly young white kids, so they may not necessarily be rushing to a podcast of black men because they can't relate to that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't think it's solely y'all. I'm not saying everyone's racist and it's just because of that, but I do think y'all's race plays a part in it.
So here comes white KJ in the chat, chiming in, defending his race. Let's go, KJ. What do you think?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, love you guys. First off, I love everybody on this podcast. You know, you're my favorite, and Mitch,
man.
You're my man. So, so I wasn't. Let me clarify by saying I never actually drew a comparison to Rapzilla. What I just basically my bomb into the whole thing was to say, well, then show me the actual version of what the success would be. Then, you know what I mean? I was basically saying, then show me a podcast that exists in the Christian hip hop space that is made up of all white people that is more popular. Mm-hmm. And it was crickets, because there isn't one.
Yeah.
And I said that because if you say, well, if A could be B, then B would be more successful, then you have to show me B in the first place for the whole argument to exist. Now, the point that Mitch is making, several of the points, has a lot of validity. There's no question. But the main point I was drawing is that you can't say Rapzilla is a white version of anything, because they're two completely different platforms. You know what I mean? I've known you guys forever. You guys have always led, I'm assuming initially it was a radio show that became a podcast, if I'm not mistaken. But that, you know, generally there's always going to be overlap. You know, Rapzilla has never been a podcast, right? It's never been a radio show. It has primarily been a landing space for information as a website. And so my main point was, they're just two completely different entities, and you can't compare apples to apples if apples are oranges. Now they're both fruit, but they're not the same type of thing. So that was really all it was. I don't know why Rapzilla would be deemed a white Christian hip hop space, because one guy is kind of, you know, white looking Puerto Rican. I mean, he's not the face. You don't think when I go, I'm going to go into Rapzilla, the first thing I see is Justin Sarachik. You don't. I mean, he has a few video pieces, but if I go onto their Facebook, the first person I see is On Beat doing video reviews, right? If I go onto the website, the first thing I see is just a diversity of artists. I'm not seeing a face per se, whereas no question, you know, Trackstarz has a face. And I kept thinking, I was like, is there a podcast that is similar? And I can't think of one. Someone said Relevant magazine, but I'm like, that's not even, like, Relevant is a magazine from like 2001.
That's irrelevant.
I mean, it's not even, they don't cover, they touch on Christian rap, but it's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, again, that was my whole point. My whole point was that you can't make a comparison if there's no comparison to begin with. Now, if we want to talk about content and the people that deliver content and how they look, there's a total discussion to be had there. But essentially what you're saying is, there's a young white kid out there somewhere going, I really need a podcast. He tunes in and goes, 5 black people, turn it off. Give me white people now. Boom, Rapzilla. I feel so much better.
Well,
like,
what I'll say is, and I do kind of regret that Rapzilla got brought in, because I do agree they're not the same. The conversation, I feel like, was less about y'all, and I was telling Justin this. It's not about Trackstarz should be better than Rapzilla. Y'all should be the go-to. It's more that I feel like, and it's hard to quantify it, but I feel like y'all don't get enough credit. I feel like y'all should get more, but I can't like say exactly what that would look like. Like, is that in views? Is that in traffic? I don't know y'all's numbers like that. I do know that y'all don't get talked about enough from the people I know that are in the space. As for, I don't think a young white kid is gonna click on to Trackstarz and then be like, oh man, but maybe subconsciously, like, they might not necessarily think, oh, I don't want to listen to black people talk about Christian rap, but like, maybe if they're not around any black people, they might just be like, oh, this isn't I'm not used to this. I'm not used to listening to black people. I don't really know many. So that might keep them from clicking on it, you know? I like to give kids like credit. I don't think anyone.
Actually, I would agree with you to some extent, Mitch, because I think Trackstarz does, you guys do talk about things that speak to the black experience, and you do them through a lens, which is your own experience, which, I'll be honest with you, you're absolutely right. I don't think some young Christian rap fan in a very white-dominated town somewhere in Wisconsin is trying to tune in and hear a deeper discourse about Louis Farrakhan.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that might have less to do with who's doing it and has to do with the content. If you had 5 white guys talking about Louis Farrakhan, he might check out too. You know what I mean? Like there could be some truth to absolutely when you see yourself in that person or that content creator, there's no question there's relatability. But oftentimes, let's just say it, oftentimes it's easier to throw the race card than it is to look at the deeper levels of nuance of why something is popular or not popular. It's easier to go, the low-hanging fruit is always to go, well, if I didn't have this, then I would be this.
Right.
And it's just never, I can tell you after 30 years of doing this, and I don't mean that like an age thing, I'm just saying it's never that simple. And to be honest, this industry is so tiny. Like these spaces that Trackstarz is living in is brand new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know what you guys talk about appeals to me and Mitch, because we're so in the culture to different levels that when you deep dive into these issues and these topics and these content, that appeals to us. So we feel like you guys should be bigger because you're speaking directly to us. But
Yeah.
it's very often to think we as artists, the way we approach things, we are the anomaly. The average listener,
Yeah.
They're not like that.
I definitely appreciate this conversation. I don't think Lauren even was thinking about Rapzilla when he said it. I think he just meant more people should be looking at this period, right? Not comparison to somebody else. So to be fair to him, I don't think he even thought about Rapzilla.
Absolutely.
I appreciate what he said. My response to it would be, he's not completely wrong from an internal perspective, because I don't think he just means as black faces on a podcast. I think he also just means a black run business. There's not a lot of black run businesses in this space, not anymore, I would say. So there is some challenges there. There are some resource challenges there. There's some because we're black, it's not coincidental that because we're black we talk about black stuff, right? And because of that, we have been kicked off of a lot of platforms. American Family Association kicked us off because we said something about Donald Trump. We got kicked off of other things because we said something sideways about some of their favorites, you know what I mean? So there is a correlation there. But I would say at the end of the day, regardless of the truth of that, I can't see it that way. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, as far as Trackstarz go, in my mind is up to how well I work this thing that God gave me, right? So some of the number issues is when we started, we were really, really hyper focused on numbers. Like, okay, we got to get our YouTube numbers up, our Twitter numbers up, this and that. After a while, we honestly stopped caring about that. We stopped caring about how many people watched, and we started caring more about the quality of what we were talking about and what we were doing, and trying to stay true to the people that we originally were called to meet. We could cater our show to get a bigger audience, but we decided, we were like, no, there is a type of person that we know we need to reach. We were designed to reach. And even if there's less of those people available, we're still going to do that because no one else that we know is talking to them. You see what I'm saying? Now, at the end of the day, there's still things that we're not doing to the best of our ability because we're still learning. Me, Ryan, and Jeremiah, we've been doing this. The company, I saw a lot of people saying, oh, Rapzilla started in 2003, Trackstarz started in 2008. That's interesting every time I hear somebody say when we started, because we actually started in 2005. That's when the company actually started. We started doing shows in 2006, and the whole team kind of formed in 2007. That's when Jeremiah was on board, and the whole thing started really rolling. So people have kind of jumped on board in different areas of our space. But we are learning this on the fly. As far as business is concerned, as far as marketing is concerned, we don't have any money. We don't have anybody like doing anything for us. All of this is us just out of the love for Jesus that we have, trying to make something into something that could be special. We have day jobs. We have all that stuff going on in the background. We have an awesome team of volunteers that have come alongside us that says, I believe in this and I want to see this thing blow up. And they've been amazing. Like Kenny's on the call right now. There's somebody who just says, I see it and I'm going to help this thing go. But at the end of the day, any lack of success you may perceive is my fault. I'll just be honest with you. It's my fault. It's whatever I haven't learned yet.
Our
really.
fault. Our fault.
It's whatever. Y'all can say whatever you want, but I take it as my responsibility. It's whatever I haven't learned yet. There's things that I'm learning now that if I knew before, we would have been further along. So some of that is can be attributed to race, but I can't look at it that way. That's not how I see it. So I appreciate what Lauren said, because there's some historic things that would have made being white a little bit different in how this thing comes about. Our audience would have been a little bit bigger. The pool of people that we could have attracted may have been a little bit bigger if we were white. But the actual success of our show, honestly, being black in this space, in some people's mind, is an advantage.
Right.
It's an advantage because people see us as being a little bit closer to the actual culture than the people who are running some of these companies. They see us as having an advantage that we can talk directly to people who look like us and all that kind of stuff. So I think I wouldn't say there's a clear disadvantage, but there's some different challenges that we faced because we're black than other people face, I believe. Yeah. But there's no excuses. It's still up to us to make it into what it needs to be.
And I'll say this too, definitely no excuses, right? But we also understand where we are right now with the culture, right? So you see CCM is all the way up here, right? Mm-hmm. And then you've got gospel maybe right here. Maybe they're neck and neck. And then you got CHH, which is down here. And so we know that if you are trying to do this, then you're going to have to at least get a cosign from one of these bigger people, right? And for us, it took us we knew we weren't getting it with CCM after I got a couple of emails that was like, nah, bro, check out. But gospel was like here with us, and then they came down here with us, right? Now they're back up to here with us because the demo is getting younger. And 18 to 34 is the demo they're looking to now serve, where when we first started off, it was 25-54. So, now it's just like, okay, you get a cosign from the gospel industry, maybe then you plateau a little bit more, right? And we've gotten a cosign from the gospel when we won the Stellar Award. They kind of plateaued us a little bit more. And so for us, it's almost like CCM is years and years and years and years and years ahead off the charts of where we even started. So you have to look at it like it's one of the other two. Like whenever I send out a submission for us on radio, and I'll be honest with you, I used when Chris Chicago was on Rapzilla Radio, he and I would talk. And we would talk about like where they were and stuff like that. And we would find different avenues and say, you guys might be able to go here, right? And because you don't have that cosign of knowing these people, you don't really get the emails to the right people. You don't get the phone calls back from the right people. Whereas when I was having conversations with Derek Holm with Jam the Hype, he could make those relationships happen for us because he knew those people. So I wouldn't necessarily say that we're not on a bigger platform because of our race predominantly. It's because of who we haven't met yet or who we don't know. Yeah. And I think a lot of that is where we are now. And then here's the thing too. It took us a long time to get comfortable with owning our own space, right? Because we were saying, okay, you can't say this, you can't say that, you can't do this, you can't do that. Finally, when we stopped caring about it, God was like, hey, just continue to show the love of Christ. Just continue to walk upright and be the standard that men of any color need to see in men that are walking with Christ. And that's how it all started to really take off from there. I wouldn't say that there was a formula that we tried one way or another. Sean has been instrumental with the look of Trackstarz and the production of Trackstarz and everything like that. But we all come together to say, hey, here's where we are with Christ, and let's just let God have his way. And we just move up as we continue to remove ourselves and God continues to elevate himself. We move down, 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 but he moves us up, up, up.
It's great.
Man.
Yeah, and I'll say that what's interesting, KJ is on this call because KJ is one of those first people that co-signed us. You know what I mean? Like when we did Line for Line, nobody liked Line for Line. The fact that people like Line for Line is amazing. Artists hated us when we did Line for Line. People hated the audience hated us. They were like, how are you doing this? You devil worshiping. Yeah. So when KJ was like, yo, I like this. This is dope. That was the first time anybody had really said this was good. We believed in it, but no one else did. But when he co-signed us, this was years and years ago. That's when people started paying attention to it. Yeah.
We went down to Flavor Fest 2013. Nobody knew who we were. Nobody. We tapped KJ on the back and we had a little iPhone camera and we were just like, can you give us a drop? And he was like, sure. And, and it was just amazing because there's like, we're talking to KJ52, and it feels the same way right now. Like when they told me you were jumping on the Zoom call, I was honored. When you came to Atlanta and you did your documentary from our studio, I was honored. I felt like, wow, because I remember when Jeremiah first came on the show, he introduced us to you in a way that we were just like, what is this, right? And it was so amazing to see that the person that we were admiring, the music we were listening to, the person we were following, has now said that he's come to like and know what we do. So thank you for that.
So the lesson there is you need a white guy to just buy into what you're doing. That's the lesson right there. Gotta find you a white guy that believes in you. That's how you do it.
Credit score went up. All that.
Yeah.
So Jeremiah, what from your perspective, you've seen the whole journey, right? So what do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think if we were white, we would be further along?
I think we could be probably. But I think at the same time, I think what you said, perspective is key. I think at the end of the day, when people have a perspective of you and they know you, and your perspective shapes things that we've seen over the years. You know what I mean? Like I think KJ or Mitch said this, like when a young white kid see us, if they love what we do, they're gonna hang around. But for some, it could be a stumbling block to hear about Black Lives Matter, Minister Farrakhan, or you know what I mean, all these things that we know about that, like he said, a kid in Wyoming who loves Jesus, that loves 116, that loves KJ, that loves NF, that loves all that, maybe like, I can't relate to that, so I'm a fall back. But I will say that us being consistent over the years has made us and where we are. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I think our consistency of going to starting at an AM station where you can't hear it down the block. We dedicated there every week for 2 hours. Well, my fact, 4 hours, and we're there and we are talking about things on the fly. Hey, what happened this week? Yeah, we're gonna talk about that in the next break. Okay, let's do this, let's do that. You know what I mean? So dedication from that to another station that you couldn't hear down, you went up a mile, you couldn't hear that. And you know what I mean, just where we were, and then just being blessed by the South when they was like, hey, we would love to take that content from Line for Line, that content, and put it on our website. That was one of the
South is
turning points.
That was the cosign.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah,
that was
the
it.
South was something that, for people who don't know, the South was like Rapzilla. I would say prior to Rapzilla becoming as big as it is now, but the South was like really huge for a lot of artists, man, a lot. And then they had the Buzz Shop. That's where I would get all my music from. I would order so much music off their website that they offer Christian hip hop music, the CDs. I know people don't know what CDs is, but CDs. So, you know, it was so much of that. So I would say, of course, some stuff is you see in life where you can see certain things, people get ahead quicker than, not just because of, like, I'm not saying they're talented people, but also it's acceptable. You know what I'm saying? Like as an example would be, and this is a crazy example, but like the time when Iggy Azalea came out and everybody was loving her, like they were on her, and it was easy to accept her probably for white parents than Nicki Minaj. If you get it, you know what I'm saying? Because you like, I don't know this woman, I can't trust her, but this young lady looks like somebody I know personally, or she looks like somebody that I could relate to her story, regardless of the fact. So I think relatability is it. Is that wrong? I don't know. I mean, that's really a preference, because we have people that love our show. We have Caucasian white people that love our show too. You know what I mean? So, you know, I don't know what to say. We have people on our team that love our show that is Caucasian. So
I would say that as of right now, we aren't swayed by numbers. We're working on things actively. So if numbers go down or numbers go up or they don't match up to other people, we don't care about that right now. We're actually working on substantial things in the background that we're more excited about than whether we get a bunch of views on a video or something like that. So as of right now, what you would call success for Trackstarz looks more like winning in the background than it does winning in front of everybody on here. You know what I mean? We're trying to grow as business people. We're trying to grow as investors. We're trying to grow as music executives. So that's stuff that is done quietly. That's stuff that's done in the background. That's stuff that's done, in meetings and things like that people don't get to see. So we're not done. You know what I mean? We've been doing this for 15 years. We're not done. We're still working. We're still growing. So we have never been and have no desire to be in competition with Rapzilla, with Wado, with Gorilla Cross, with any of these other outlets. We have never, ever, ever wanted to be in competition. We see ourselves as helpers for them. Like, we send people to Rapzilla. There's all this debate about Trackstarz does all this other stuff. Chad does a lot of stuff, right? Chad could really take an artist from 0 to a million easily. We tell people about that. When people are on Nectar and they're like, "Hey, I just got a deal with Doc Watson and RMG Amplify," we're like, "Awesome, go do that." We're not in competition with any of these people. We want all of these things to win. So that's why none of that stuff phases us. But as far as the future of Trackstarz, just pray that we get better as executives, that more people see what we're trying to accomplish, that can put us in bigger spaces. Our number one job is making sure that we stay consistent and we keep our integrity. We're not trying to sell out for anything. We're not trying to bend our message to try and fit into a space. So if Trackstarz goes away, if we kept our consistency and we kept our integrity, that's a success for us. Hopefully somebody's listening that'll be like, I can do what they do, and I'm gonna do it better, and I'm gonna do it bigger. I'll take that as a win for myself. You see what I'm saying?
Sure. Can I speak to that real quick? Is that cool? Yeah, I was gonna say too, the long form podcast format, by and large, we haven't really seen that in this genre. I mean, it's, the long form discussion driven, podcast format is an anomaly, versus like a one-stop resource. You know what I mean? That tends to be more popular, just generally, because it's comes down to what does the consumer want? You know what I mean? Like, I can think of the times I've done like race, faith, and hip hop video discussions with Rapzilla, and they're not hugely embraced. They're not hugely tuned into. But when it's a Rapzilla exclusive release or something like that, people will always tune in more, because at the end of the day, it's probably more about the music than it is about the ripple effect of what those that make the music and the spaces that they live in. Right. There is no question that Black artists talking about Black issues are going to get pushback from a predominantly white support base. Like, that is the constant struggle, and I don't think that means you need to stop or ever stop speaking your truth or your, what you go through. I think that should be applauded. I think that should be, people should come alongside that. It's unfortunate, though, most of this always comes down to relatability. You know what I mean? And we all know we live in such a hyper politicized time right now that everybody, my pastor gave a great analogy. He said it's like all the roots are exposed on a lawn, and no matter where you step, you're stepping on somebody's roots. You are everyone is hypersensitive, unfortunately. But I think we'll look back on this time maybe in 5 to 10 years and go, there probably was a lot of progress made that we didn't really see. Yeah. That the younger generation that isn't very vocal about their problems, it's always the older generation, you know what I mean, that are going to have these potential beefs and issues. I mean, look, obviously I know there's this big debate right now about NF. Why is NF so successful when he seems so one-dimensional? Why is he so successful, when he only has this quote unquote basic skill level? Like, that's what people would say. But the reality is, music is just like food. We don't necessarily go and consume a burger because it's this complex food experience. We go consume a burger because we like it. Yeah. And a few of us want to know how that burger was made. Most of us don't care. Yeah. You know what I mean? And what you guys are essentially doing is you are talking about how the burger is made. You are talking about the ins and the outs and the details. And most of us just go, I just want to bite into the burger, man. I've got surprised. Like, I don't really care. I just want it to be good. I'm going to eat it. I'm going to consume it. I'm on to the next. I don't want you to slip a political message in with my burger. I just want to eat my burger in peace.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's the way music mostly is. As much as we hate that because we're the artists, we're the content creators, and we're people of the culture. Now, every once in a while, we are going to hit some people. You know what I mean? But reality is, if you were 5 white guys doing Trackstarz talking about black issues, would that be accepted? Probably not.
That's good.
Yeah.
That would be dismissed because who are you to talk about it? You know what I mean? They would say that, so to speak. Or it would be like the Wokey Woke podcast, you know, where they're just going to like...
with dashikis and African...
Right. You know what I mean? So, you know, I don't know what to tell you on that lens, but you probably wouldn't see the same thing. It's still... The reality is you guys are 100% right and 100% wrong simultaneously if you say it comes down to race. You're 100% right. It does, and 100% wrong simultaneously because there's so many other factors. You know, is NF successful because of his facial tone? Absolutely. Is that the only reason? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? It's never a simple answer. And the idea too that if all you need to do is put a white face on black music and you have instant success, there is way more unsuccessful white rappers than there are successful ones.
True.
You know what I mean? Because it's not always just that. But that's all it was. And listen, guys like Mitch and Derek, I'm always pushing back on them because I love them with the deepest of my heart. And to be honest with you, if I love you, I probably will argue with you. It's nothing more than just the fact that I respect your opinion that much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, and I've told Mitch many times, like some of his favorite songs is where he talks about his struggle you know, from a racial dynamic. That's some of my favorite songs because he's telling his unique story, and I just resonate with that. When you guys did Line for Line, I resonated with it because that was so unique to what you were, and it was brand new. And that why would I never want to? Of course, I would always support that stuff from the top to bottom. So
yeah,
man, we appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah,
Ahead,
I would say that like how they. I was telling them this recently. I was like, the younger generation loved Line for Line. The OGs hated it. Like, y'all, dude, it'd be times where it'd be like, man, we would be at hotels and like we'd be walking in and somebody's like, yo, Trackstarz, right? I was like, yeah, Line for Line, right? And I'm like, okay, I don't know how's this gonna go. I don't know where this gonna go.
Yeah.
But like, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's the funny thing about the whole thing about Line for Line is it's so interesting how the younger generation has embraced it, and like if they win or they lose, they don't. Like, it's like, yo, I'm glad I got one. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even know it was that of a big deal. So it's very interesting. But anyway, when is the Ebony and Ivory mixtape coming, Mitch?
Oh my! Well,
When is it coming?
Tired, so I can't get him to do no more songs with me.
Nah, stop it. You know, can I be honest with you? It's funny you would say that. I have a song that's about to drop. Sorry, I'm just plugging in my phone so it doesn't die. I have a song about to drop, and it's called Rise.
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
The track is it's a single about my take on everything that's going on. I don't know, I guess you say racially or Black Lives Matter or whatever you want to talk about it. So it wasn't necessarily my take as much as it was just me trying to tell my perspective and my story. And I played this song for several of my melanin blessed friends. And I said, can you just listen to this and tell me, do I come off pandering? Am I treading on a space that I shouldn't talk? And everyone said, coming back, said, no, you're not. You're telling your own story. And then they were like, well, look out, you're about to get it. And I'm not really worried about to get it per se. My first inclination was to I was like, I need to probably find a black rapper to jump on this song with me so that I'm telling both sides of the story. And then I had a conversation with somebody, and what he said was, you shouldn't do that. He goes, because if you're always looking for a cosign, you need to speak to those that are in your fan base that need to hear it just from you without the hood pass, so to speak.
Point.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I thought about that, and I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, when it comes to black issues, and I don't want to just say I'm zooming in on just black issues. I would say this if it was related to some, Hispanic homie that I was going to talk into that, or, I was an advocate for child, abduction in India, or whatever. The point being is like, the point being was that I needed to be an ally, right? And being an ally probably starts with more listening than talking.
Yeah.
So it's funny you say that about, you know, Mitch. Mitch was a guy I thought about because I thought, you know what, he'd be a great young perspective on this song. And then I thought, you know what, then I'm probably going to get drowned out. Like the song I did with Lecrae, you know, while it's not like super like racially divisive or something like that, by and large, people miss the message behind that song.
Yeah.
People were just more like, that's cool. Y'all did a song together. Listening,
Let's
right?
go.
Yo, that's that voice from them interludes from back in the day.
Yeah.
Or they're just like, you did a song with Lecrae. I'm like, golly, come on, guys. But I ended up getting a girl from my church who is Nigerian. And not that I tried to get her. She actually won the contest fair and square. She's a phenomenal singer. And it's funny, when I threw the song out on my social media, I still have not released it. I threw it on social media, full song. I said, everybody tell me what you think about this song. I had a white lady take me to task and say, this is like when men start talking about abortion. You have no argument. You have nothing you can say in this. I'm like, I think the black girl on the song probably has something she wants to talk about. You know what I mean? But the perception was, again, the roots are exposed and we're all kind of like treading lightly on what can be said. But I don't know, man. I just think conversation is so powerful, even if it's just this type of conversation, you know?
Yeah.
I think we definitely need more coming together. I think wherever the advantages are, we need to use whatever advantages we have to help each other, because the goal is, like I said earlier in the show, we all need to be pushing the same ball up the hill together. We can't be fighting each other during this time. So that's the attitude we've always taken. It's not always advantageous to us, because if we were really cutthroat business, we could probably get a lot further than we are. But we have decided that regardless of what happens to us, we're gonna always have the mentality of we're working with everybody, even if they hate us. We're working with you. So that's how we're gonna remain. So anyway, thank you guys for coming on, man. We really appreciate the perspective. We thought the conversation was hilarious.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, man. All right, let's get back into it. You in the field with the Trackstarz, Ryan Righteous, Sean Tanner, DJ Jeremiah. Let's go.